Hello guys, the camera just fell down, but we are in business. All right, let's just make sure everything is good. Welcome guys, welcome to our harmony lesson today. Today I'm going to talk about harmony. I welcome everybody to, this is going to be, I believe, our 20th live, is that right? Live number 20. Let me make sure this is right. I am logging in here to get the video, so I want to welcome everybody. The subject today is going to be harmony, advanced harmony tips. We're going to be looking especially into a couple of symmetrical scales, the augmented scale, the Messian mode, one of the Messian modes which I learned from fellow guitar player Nelson Veras. Amazing guitar player. And we're also going to be looking at a few of the modes from the harmonic major scale. The harmonic major harmonized scale is a scale that very few people know about. It is a rather rare scale, and has one specific mode in there that solves a constant problem that we find in Brazilian music and jazz music. And I'm probably going to start with that. And I'm definitely open for maybe taking up any questions about harmony today, especially on the advanced part. Okay, let me just make sure. Oh, all right. So let's talk about the harmonic major first. The harmonic major scale basically is a major scale with a flat six. So you're going to have this. All right? And then as you build scales off of that, you're going to run into many very interesting modes. Hey Bob. Hello Kurt. Good to see you guys here. All right, so here's the idea, guys. I would like to talk about this very situation here. This is a situation that really opened my eyes because it's a very recurrent situation in jazz music and Brazilian music. And I've been taught wrong how to deal with this. And the situation is like this. Two instances of diminished chords that we are taught to treat with a diminished scale, but there's actually a mistake in there. And I'm going to show it to you. The first instance is like this. You have, for example, you're in the key of C. And then you do a 2-5-1 to the fourth degree. The fourth degree is F. So 2-5-1 to F, I get this, and I go to F. And then after I go to F, then you go to sharp diminished. And you're back at 1 with the bass on the 5th. There's so many songs that use this, even the blues use this, right? As you go to the fourth degree, fourth diminished, and then back to 1, the bass on the 5th. In Brazilian music, you have this in choro and samba. Very often, you have this situation here. I'm sorry. Sharp 4 diminished. So what is wrong with this chord? First I would like to address how I learned to deal with it, and then I'm going to tell you why something wrong is happening in there. Robert Goldsmith, I'm going to watch you on my TV so I can get a better picture. All right, here is what happens. In the 4 sharp diminished, we're taught to use the diminished scale. What is a diminished scale? It is a diminished arpeggio with half a step before each note. So happens in this scale, if you use that scale in this chord, which is what everybody is taught to do, you're gonna deal with this note right here, the G sharp note. But we are in the key of C. And in the key of C, the most powerful note after the tonic is the fifth. That's why in the subject of negative harmony, they mirror the scale in two halves, where C represents one half and G represents the other half. So you must take into account that the G has a weight in a tonal sense. The note G, in fact, the G is the first harmonic in the harmonic series of G. The first harmonic is the fifth, if I'm not mistaken. So it sounds kind of weird here to go in this part here. If I'm doing a melody, for example, on the top notes, and then as I go to the next note, if I use that note, it is very dissonant. To me, it sounds so dissonant. To me, it would sound so much better if the internal voice there, because this G is the second of the F sharp. If I could use the G natural. Listen to this. Which one do you prefer? Or number 2? I prefer number 2 because you alter your main scale less, your main tonality. You're altering it less. You're messing with it not as much. Okay, is the camera? I think the camera's straight. All right. So what is this scale here? Then you come up with a diminished scale with a flat 9, and the rest is the same. Is there such a scale? So we never covered this scale. I went through 2 degrees to a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in music, and I never learned in a harmony class anything about this. So it took me just researching in music on my own until I found out how to deal with this chord. And this chord is the Locrian, the Locrian diminished 7th, and that is the last mode of the harmonic major scale. If you take all the modes of the harmonic major scale, which I explained to you what it was, the reason why it's called harmonic is because you have that leap of a minor third within the scale, and now it happens between the flat 6 and the major 7. So if you count the scale backwards, you're going to end up with what they call a Locrian double flat 7 or diminished 7, because normally the Locrian has a flat 7. And in this case, so it's like a fully diminished chord in its chord tones 1, 3, 5, and 7. You're going to have a diminished structure. However, in the colors or extensions, you end up with a flat 9, and I never knew that existed until I analyzed all the modes of the harmonic major scale. And that, to me, was like a light. Boom! Wow, this answers my question. And I'll even show you this in context. For example, you take a Brazilian tune, one of the tunes that I recorded here on the YouTube. It is called Noites Cariocas. And you analyze the melody, how the melody passes through this very progression, and it uses the G natural note, because probably the composer didn't even make that relationship, but he was simply looking for the sound of the melody, using the notes within the key, A and G, just sounded more correct, and then he put the passage of the dominant chord, the diminished chord, it goes like this. Okay, maybe I should set my recorder here. I didn't do this. My producer's gonna be mad at me. But just so I can give you guys a better sound. But as we're talking about, so did you guys make sense of what I just said? The idea, again, you got an F major 7, this is the 4th degree. Listen to the melody. Here comes the F sharp diminished. The melody is on the note E flat, which is your double flat 7 or diminished 7. And the melody goes. melody goes A, G, A. So what's happening in there? A, G, the natural G right here. So you see in a melody, in the very composition, the existence of, or the proof that this scale sounds more melodic. It sounds more appropriate. Because if you be too theoretical and you think, no, it's diminished chord, diminished scale, then that melody would have been wrong, right? And the correct way would have been this. Actually, it doesn't even sound so bad, because then in this case, it is working as a leading tone to the 6. You got 6 leading tone, but that's because the melody does that. But if you're doing it on arpeggio, maybe in that section, it would sound much better to run through the G note like this. So we got this. See? Much better. So I think it's much better to use the G natural in that situation. So let me plug this up so I can get a better sound for you guys. All right. Now the sound should be much better. Okay, so is this making sense, guys? I'm open for questions, okay? Make sure to participate. So now situation number 2. Very similar situation and very common on Brazilian as well as on American music. The situation is this. Let's use the key of C major again. I have the 3rd degree E Phrygian and then 3rd degree flat diminished going to the 2. How many times have we seen this? A bunch. Like, what's an example? For example, in the tune Someday My Prince Will Come from Miles Davis, you got there. 3rd degree, in this case, we're in the key of B flat, so the 3rd degree is D minor, and then 3rd degree flat diminished. So in that degree is the exact same thing happening, but it happens on another chord tone, but it still refers to the 5th of the tonality. Tonality is C, the 5th is G. So if you analyze this chord right here, this diminished chord in the key of C, let's go back to the key of C. The diminished chord here has the flat 3rd and then the flat 5. So according to the diminished scale, you would have the G sharp again, because it is the leading tone to the flat 6, major 6. So, but that sounds weird. Listen to this if I use that note. It sounds really bad. It kind of sounds like, okay, you know, you could maybe use that, but it just sounds dissonant to me. We can't deny, you know. So here, I'm going to try to improvise, and then on Someday My Prince Will Come, now back to the key of B flat, and I'm going to put that note in the chord, so you can see the clash. You can see it's just not going to work, all right? Again that we had before, 4th degree and then 4th degree sharp, and then you would have to put a flat 9 in this guy in order to obey the tonality. So then you would improvise over this guy like this, right? Right there, instead of I want to address to you guys here, which no freaking school of music has been able to address. I went to 2 universities, 2 degrees in music, bachelor's and master's degree, and nobody ever addressed that, and I wondered why. So here's the wrong note. The natural 9 over the 4th degree diminished, sharp 4th degree diminished, cannot use the natural 9. So you must use, that is the diminished that comes from the 7th mode of the harmonic major. It is diminished flat 9, or Locrian double flat 7, if you want to call it the same thing. So you would deal with it as going. Sorry guys. See? So that's the idea. And then back to the original progression, 3rd degree, 3 flat diminished. That's the wrong note. You would want to go. Listen to this context. I'm going to create a context here to try to show you guys. This context here, the simple melody. See, the melody fits over all the chords if you use the scale that I'm suggesting. Or something like this. Let's get there again. Now here comes the diminished. I'm going to use it with a major 3rd. See? Or some you could do. Instead of, this is the one that I consider wrong, which is your natural diminished scale. It is not that bad. But it is more dissonant. So it does give you a choice to sound either less dissonant and more respectful to the overall tonality, or to really sort of put pepper in there, you know, put a lot of salt and pepper, and then really kind of make that diminished sting your ear. It's still sort of acceptable to use that perfect 4th in the scale, but I think the flat 4, which gives you a major 3rd, is much better. And this is a consequence of that mode again. But it's like you're just using a diminished chord on another inversion, because the diminished chord, the Locrian double flat 7, happens on the 7th mode of the harmonic major scale. But you can invert it, and you can put it on different tones, the bass being on different tones. So this guy that happens between the flat 3, the 3 and the flat 3, is the same diminished, same situation that happens between the 4 and the sharp 4. It's the same scale that you're using in the end. Okay? So it's just happening in 2 different instances. So that brings up a subject that I call the different kinds of diminished chord. There's one diminished chord I call authentic diminished chord. Then there's 2 other diminished chords that are variations. One diminished chord is a variation of the Phrygian dominant, right? On the Phrygian dominant scale, you can build a diminished chord off of the flat 9, major 3rd, perfect 5th, or flat 7. And now you get to know the diminished chord, which is a consequence of the harmonic major scale and appears on the 7th mode. And it justifies, or it is the best choice for these 2 harmonic instances that happen all over the place. Who has not seen a tune that does that? You know, having the 3rd degree, flat diminished, 2nd degree. Yeah. It seems like about 2 or 3 jazz standards out of 10 will have this progression, because it's just so common. Or that other progression, which I mentioned to you. Go to the 4th degree, you are in 1. Go to the 4th, then go to the sharp diminished. But of course, if you want to sort of stay away from that, then just focus on the arpeggio, which is an easy way out, you know. You can, whenever you deal with these instances, if you don't want to think too hard, just an easy way out is to simply do the arpeggio. Here's another way that you can think about this. It's like this. Whenever you deal with those two instances of the diminished chord, going from the 3 to the flat 3 to the 2, or 4 to the sharp 4 diminished, to the 1 based on the 5th, all you can think about is this. Relate back to the tonic. Relate back to the tonic as the tonic behaving as a diminished chord. Because that's really what's happening. Whenever you do this, it is like doing this. 4, and then the tonic being diminished and then resolving to the major, okay? However, it is not a purely diminished chord. It is a consequence, or it is behaving as another chord in the harmonic major called Lydian minor. So Lydian minor also has a diminished built in. So it's very interesting that as you analyze the modes of the harmonic major, on every other mode, you're going to see that there is the existence of a diminished structure in there. The Lydian minor is the 4th mode of the harmonic major scale. And it goes like this. It's a Lydian minor scale. So it's like a minor scale with a sharp 4. Okay. You have it here. Okay. So that's another way that maybe you can think faster. If you don't want to access thinking about a diminished chord with a flat 9, which is that instance. This example explains perfectly what I'm talking about. The use of the harmonic major in that diminished instance. Notice the flat 9, the diminished chord, as opposed to everything we learned in school. At least I did. Normally in school they're going to teach you that the diminished chord has a major 9. It's too stingy, it's too dissonant. So instead of having to think, okay, thinking about a diminished chord is already hard enough, and then to think about it and then calculate in your mind, okay, I need to put a flat 9 instead of a major 9, that's too hard. So what you do is you think about the root of the tonality, the tone center, C, and then simply apply a diminished there being a consequence of the Lydian minor. So I can improvise over it thinking like this. Lydian. And then here, instead of thinking diminished, I can just think C Lydian minor. See? And you get a much better result. It's easier to think in that perspective. It's just easier, it's faster. So every time you guys see this, and you will see it, you will encounter that situation, that's my advice to you. This is one of my favorite subjects to talk about in advanced harmony. Why do I consider that? Is because I find it very, very useful, because these situations are very common, and because I find that nobody ever addresses them. In my musical life as a student, and I still am an eternal student, but I'm not taking lessons from anybody right now, but I'm always researching, always looking at videos and websites and subjects, trying to learn as much as I can. So in my life as a student, I've never seen this being addressed. And it's such a common situation. Why does nobody ever address this? So that's why I had decided to bring it to this lesson. When I thought about deciding the subject, I'm going to talk about advanced harmony, I thought about that very subject. So, okay. Any questions? Oh, there's a lot of writings here. All right. Noites Cariocas, good stuff. Yeah. Boleros. So is 1, 4, 5, 4 diminished and with the 5th on the bass? Yes, that is the progression I was addressing. Alexi says, hello. Alexi, what's up? This is why I like you as a harmony teacher. Most people on YouTube don't talk about this because they don't understand just one follow. Thank you, brother. All right. So does this help you? I hope this helps you. Whenever, just to finish that off, I just explained the 4 to the sharp 4, and I'm going to give another example of the 3rd degree minor. What's a tune that I can think of on this situation? Maybe Joe Beam's tune, Eu Sei Que Vou Te Amar. It goes, vou te amar, toda minha vida vou te amar. Em cada despedida eu vou te amar, desesperadamente eu sei que vou te amar. Em cada verso. Yeah, so here the melody, he actually played safe. He didn't touch that third or fourth. But if you are going to improvise or arrange in this progression, then you would use the Lydian minor, which would go right with the bass. Yeah. Rather than, that's just too much for my ears. And this is what you get if you simply use the diminished scale normally. Right? See, that note to me is just not welcome. And the reason why it's not welcome is because if you analyze it from the perspective of the tonality, that note is the sharp fifth. It is the G sharp. We are in the key of C. So of course, this note is just going to be odd, you know? And that's my shout out there to all the harmony teachers. Be aware of this and teach this to your students, because inevitably they are going to run up against a tune that has those passages. And they're going to sound like shit if they don't take a look at this and don't cover the subject in their lessons, right? So that's it for this subject. Why is the formula for Lydian minor? What is the formula for Lydian minor is tonic, major second, flat 3, sharp 4. That's where you have the leap of a minor third that justifies the name harmonic major scale. So tonic, major second, flat 3, sharp 4, perfect fifth, major 6, and major 7. It is just like a Lydian scale, but you just flat the third. Is it Lydian minor, 4, 5, 6 chromatic? No, because the 6 is major. It's not a flat 6. So you got the sharp 4 and the perfect fifth being a half step away. But then as you move on to the 6 is a whole step from the fifth right here. I'm going to play it on C major, Lydian minor C, Lydian minor. See, 4, 5, 6 is a whole step up. Okay, and the fun thing is that you find a diminished chord inside this arpeggio, inside this scale. You find a diminished chord in there, but the diminished chord is not really made of the chord tones. It is made of a color. You have to use the sharp 4 in order to find the arpeggio, and the 6, which is also an extension. If you think about simply chord tones, then it's a minor chord, right? Or a major, minor, major 7. Okay, because you're going to have 1, flat 3, 5, and major 7. All right, guys? Okay, let's go into a different subject now. I would like to talk about the very gorgeous Messian modes. One of them specifically, which I learned from fellow guitarist, great Nelson Veras. This mode is divides the scale into 3 major thirds. So this is a type of symmetrical scale. The symmetrical scales are very beautiful, and they totally get away from the idea of harmonized scale modes. However, you could build a harmonized scale off of the Messian modes or this one, but it's going to be a mess because you have a scale of 9 notes instead of 7 notes. So then you would end up with 9 degrees, and you'd have a hard time figuring who's the third or who's the fifth, because you have more than a third and more than a fifth, right? So it's a mess. So you rather not think about it. You need to abandon the idea of building modes. How often do you change your strings? Well, that's a good question. Well, since strings are very expensive, I actually, if I don't have important concerts, I tend to let them be for a little longer because I'm more concerned about practicing technique. And it can be expensive to keep your guitar in premium shape every day if you're just playing at home. You know, I would change my strings before the pandemics when I had concerts a lot more often. I'll probably change them maybe every 2 weeks or so. And during the pandemics, maybe, you know, once a month and a half, because I'm not playing gigs, I'm just sort of chilling at home and practicing. So I tend to change them whenever I'm going to record an important video. In my channel, I have many sections of performances. So you can notice the strings are new there because of course I want to pay attention to the tuning of the guitar. So it all depends how often I change my strings. All depends on my performance schedule and frequency. But let's go back to the subject of the Messian. This is called the augmented scale. John Coltrane was one of the guys that used this in some of his improvisations. And the augmented scale separates in the tonality into the octave into 3 equal major thirds. It's very interesting that mathematically you can do this. In an octave, you can fit 2 augmented fourths, right? Which is a tritone. You can fit two tritones, so you can divide it equally into 2 parts of a tritone. So then that's where you get this scale right here. Right? That's creates the diminished dominant scale, which is like this. So you create a diminished dominant scale, and then you can separate the octave into 3 minor thirds, hence the diminished scale, which is a succession of minor thirds, right? So you have 1 minor third here, 1 here, and 1 here. Well, actually, sorry about that. 4, I meant to say 4 minor thirds. I was wrong about that. So 4 minor thirds. And later I found out you can divide an octave into 3 major thirds, and then you get the augmented scale. And then as you separate that into 3 major thirds, you get to choose. Guys, I think I'm saying something wrong here. Yeah, 3 major thirds. So here's what you come up with. You can choose to either do in each space of a minor third. You can do a flat 9 in a minor third, and then you would restart on the major third, or you can do a major 9 in a minor third. And this is the one I'm going to speak to you today about. So you got this 1, 2, flat 3, and then you restart a major third again. 1, 2, flat 3, and then you restart again. 1, 2, flat 3, and you got your scale. That's it. So this scale, another way to think about it is you're going to have 3 chromatic successions that are going to happen here. Off of the major 7, off of the 9th, then off of the 9th, then off of the flat 6, flat 5. So you have this. And you repeat again from the major 7. So there's another way to think about it. You can play it from the flat 7, 3 chromatic notes, from the major 9th, 3 chromatic notes, and from the flat 5, 3 chromatic notes. But how do we use it in an interesting fashion? You can do this scale for a major chord. And then let's analyze it from the perspective of a major chord. You're going to have a 9, a flat 3, and a major third. And then as you continue that, you're going to have a flat, a Lydian, right, sharp 4, a 5th, and a major 6. And then you're going to have a minor 7, and a major 7, and a tonic. So one of the ways that you could approach using this scale is encapsulating chromatically the major 7, the minor 3rd, and the flat and the perfect 5th. So you have this kind of sound here. Right? It's very, very open scale. And another very interesting thing you can do is you can notice that you have a major triad here. And whatever you have in this scale, you also have a major third above and another major third above. So you have 3 major triads and 3 minor triads. And that's what I see Mr. Nelson Veras doing very often in his solos. He would do a succession of major 7th arpeggios, separated by a major third, and you get this effect right here. And then yeah, let me do that one more time. Very interesting sound. Now, in order to use this effectively, you have to make an important choice here, which is when to apply this. If you have a harmony that is constantly changing, constantly going, then that's not going to work. You have to, in my opinion, use it whenever you have what I call a stationary harmony, which is when one chord stays for a long time. It's like it's parked somewhere. And then it gives you time to set the harmony, set the sound of the chord, and then begin tweaking the notes and getting an effect on your listener. So it's very important that you choose wisely when to use this kind of scale. You don't just throw it around in a regular 1-6-2-5, especially if it's going by fast. Then it's going to be used unsuccessfully. So in order to create the effect, it's better to think that way. So let's analyze it now from the perspective of three major triads. Okay, so you're gonna have G major. Let's use it in the context of G. You got G major, B major, and E flat major, because they're all a minor third apart. Sorry, a major third apart. So the first exercise that I would invite you to do is this: building a major seventh arpeggio out of each one of those chord tones. So the first major seven arpeggio is G major 7. B major 7, and then E flat major 7, and then G major 7, B major 7, E flat major 7. Okay, and then there's some sequences that you can do that I actually took from a John Coltrane book to use the augmented scale, and I could show you something here. For example, if you start by any major triad, pick one of those three major triads. Phone's ringing. Okay, sorry about that, guys. If you start on a major triad right here, then simply find the third, move a half step down, and then that's going to be the fifth of your neighboring chord. So, and then now you take this very guy, and you play. I'm playing open triads. I'll explain what that is in a second, but I'm going to keep that pattern. I'm going to play the open triad of the present chord, E flat, find the third, which is on G. I'm going to move down by half step, and I'm on the fifth of my next neighboring chord. And now I'm going to play that major triad, open triad, find the third, which the third of B is D sharp, and then I'm going to move down half a step, and I'm on the fifth of my next chord. So then I create this pattern. Sorry about that. Yeah, again. Or it's quite an interesting sonority. And then of course you choose your pattern and you work on it until you get more fluent. I just sort of made this one up here, so I'm going to try it again. How about just that? I'm going to play the open triad upwards, and then just simply the arpeggio downwards. Yeah, one more time. I just love that sound. I absolutely love it. If I could give you the best of this lesson, I think it's right here in this very moment, in exploring the sonority of the augmented scale by establishing patterns that pass through all the major triads equally. So you have that very fresh, very new sound. It's like it bends the rules of music, bends the rules of 16th century counterpoint, which was the ground for all the harmony of Western music, Brazilian and jazz and whatever. Let me read some of the questions here. How often? Okay, did you change your strings for this video? Why are you asking? Are you bothered with my strings? Is it bothering you at all? I changed the strings here about 4 days ago, and maybe that's why it's getting a little out of tune, but I would like to know why you're asking that. These strings are fairly new still. They're still kind of stretching a little bit, but I find your question very funny. Okay. One thing, guys, any questions so far? You guys are very quiet today. Rather quiet. Let's make another pattern of those, okay? Another one of these patterns. How about we could do this. We could start with the same chord, but now the third is going to become the tonic of the next chord. That means you're going to be moving forward a major triad. So I'm going to go up a G arpeggio, and as soon as I get to the third, I'm going to come down as the tonic of the new chord. So I'm going to have this. Okay. And then I'm going to, Okay, so I'm going to start lower. And I'm going to play these arpeggios, and when I get to the major third of each one, I'm going to consider that note the tonic of the new chord, and I'm going to go down, okay? So here is the pattern. I'm going to start here on the low tonic, so... I could do a little leading tone there, since this scale does have a major 7, so it becomes like this. Check. How about playing something slow? I'm trying to play along with the live. Well, I'm not really checking tunes today. I'm sort of trying to explore different sounds and harmony. And right now I'm talking about the major, the augmented scale. Maybe what you can do is just hold yourself a major 7th chord and see how these different triads sound against that root. Letters. It takes time to digest and analyze. I'm familiar with the harmonized modes, but I go slow since I don't practice that much. Okay, so guys, the augmented scale is going to give you 3 major triads over the... Oh, okay, the pattern. All right. Okay, let's try that pattern. The pattern is this. Major triad off of G. So major arpeggio all the way up to the 10th, or the 3rd, an octave above. So as soon as I get there, I'm going to consider this a root of a new chord. The chord is going to be B, because the note is B. And then I go down on the B major arpeggio. Okay? It's like using the 5th like ladder to the next major 3rd chord. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by the 5th. It's like using the 5th like ladder to the next major 3rd chord. Well, simply just go 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. As soon as I reach that, and then when I get here to the bottom, I'm going to do a little leading tone there. And then now this is going to be my new chord. That's the idea. Do you have perfect pitch? I do not have perfect pitch. I have good relative pitch, meaning you can find the intervals by the sound. So I could say, is this one of the things happening in giant steps? No. Giant steps, well, it uses 3, well, you could almost kind of say that, because it uses 3 major chords, major tonalities, and they're all a major 3rd apart. Right? You got your B, you got your E flat, you got your G. So in that nature, in that perspective, yeah, you could say that you could say that it is what happens in the G in the giant steps, but he's not using the augmented scale to solo over the giant steps. He's simply, each chord that happens, he's using the plain major scale on each one of those chords. So you don't really have the augmented scale usage in giant steps, except, like I said, in the concept of the composition, because it surrounds 3 tone centers which are separated by a major third. So you got the B major chord, the G major chord, and then the E flat. Okay? So let's try that one more time, that pattern. Maciek asked me to do it slowly, so I'm going to go slowly. Here it is. I'm just making sure I don't miss other questions. Bingo, but the progression has that sound. Yes, the progression does have that sound a little bit, but the sound is sort of dissolved by the appearance of the dominant chords, or the 2 5s that lead to each one. So then that makes it more smooth. It smooths it out. You're not playing the triads one against each other, like doing this. For example, I could play the bass of the B and then hit the other triads over. Yeah, oh yeah. So if you just play one bass and put the triads against each other, you get that sound right on your face. But if you actually do a 2-5-1 to each of the tonalities, then you smooth it out. Okay, and that's what happens in the giant steps. Okay, so I believe guitar Kurt, I believe he just has really good relative pitch. He has perfect. I don't. Whatever, guys. Okay, so here we go. Let's do that pattern again. G major arpeggio up to the 10th. And then when I get to the 10th, I go down major arpeggio of that root, that being the new root. So slowly. I'm going to count, so Maciek, you can follow me, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... It doesn't get any more fun because you're using the same fingering, to cover the triads. I like more whenever it obligates you to use a different fingering, then you're actually exercising your brain more. But maybe that pattern wasn't so good because it has an odd number of notes. But then again, that could be a good thing, right? Because then it doesn't get so noticed. People don't call it out, oh, he's just using a pattern, you know. Whenever you use an odd number of notes, the pattern gets disguised and it just seems like you are a natural genius. Maciek, I played it along and it worked. Good. Let's do another one. Let's make another one. Another pattern. How about this? Yeah. Okay, here's going to be the pattern. We're going to do 1, 3, 5, and then you move half a step up, and you find the new root, and you go back. So this is going to be an even number, because you got 6. And then you move the same thing a major third up. So you're going to have this. 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 3, and then 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, and then a major third up. You got here 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 3. That's a good one. That's a nice one. But we're just dealing with the triads. Maybe we should later work with a pattern that deals with the whole Messian mode, all the 9 notes. Let's build a pattern here in the following exercise. So let's do that one again. Repeating. Do a major third, major triad, half step up, and you got the major triad of E flat. And you end up on G again. Now you restart a major third up, and then you move half step up. And you got the G note, so you go 1, 5, 3, and then move a major third up, and then move half step up. Third up. Sorry. Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and well, I should do do da di da di da 1 2 3 go 2 3. I think I messed it up. Let's do it again. Sorry, my check. You probably passed me. Here we go again. 1 2 3 1 2 3. What's happening here? Messed it up somewhere. Oh yeah, I see where. Oh, yeah, this is still a new pattern for me, so I'm not gonna be. Yeah, but this is the greatest thing, guys, that you do in order to really build vocabulary. Whenever you're playing something that's uncomfortable and you have to think and you have to rethink, that's when you're really making progress. Because anybody could be sitting home and doing... You know? You're not really doing anything for your brain. Yeah, I like the sound too, definitely. So now let's try to do something with that Messian mode. So the Messian mode, let's change keys here. And now let's quit thinking about the triads and let's just apply it over the major chord. So the Messian, the augmented scale, before we do the Messian mode, let's go back to the augmented scale. So the augmented scale is going to be like this. You got tonic, flat 3, major 3rd, 5th, flat 6 or augmented 5, and 7 and 1. So you get this. Yeah, that's beautiful sound. Don't you love it? I love it. Listen to the phrasing of this. It has the minor 3rd and the major 3rd within the same scale. And now if you make the whole Messian mode, then you're going to have those 9 notes. You're going to have actually a 9th, a sharp 4, and a minor 7. So one way that I like I explained in the beginning of the lesson, one way that I like using this mode is like an encapsulation of the tones in the middle of the chromatic successions, which is in the major 7. So you get this. Let me put a bass on D here, just so we can get the sound, the desired sonority, so we can really check what this mode is all about. Not mode, it's not a mode, it's a scale. Or I guess you could call it a mode. So here we go. Don't you love it? I just love that, man. This is why I like Nelson Veras. He's one of my favorite guitar players. Very underrated. Has just very not many people know about him, but he's a true scientist, true mathematician of music. So this is something that you, again, use it in a stationary situation. One of the uses I'm going to ask you guys, invite you guys to check it out. In one of my videos, I use this to open one of my videos of the tune called Adios Nonino from Astor Piazzolla, the greatest tango composer. Astor Piazzolla. If you type in on YouTube, Felipe Coelho, Astor Piazzolla, you're going to see an entire intro that I did. Astor Piazzolla, Adios Nonino. You're going to see an intro of an arrangement in the key, I think it was in the key of E major. or E minor. Okay, this takes me to the next subject. Here is the secret. If you want to use this scale to a minor chord, you can. All you're going to do is move half a step back, like your tonic is on the major 7th, and then it becomes like this, D minor. So then this becomes the scale. It's going to give you major 7, 9, minor 3rd, sharp 4, 5th, flat 7, and major 7. So you get this sound. So it's a scale that can be used for both minor and major chords, okay? And it's very useful whenever you want to create a special mood, when you want to create something that sounds fresh, it sounds surprising, and it sounds away from the old, major, minor, dominant, that sometimes gets so repetitive. It's like, I think Herbie Hancock in one of his interviews when he was still young, he was expressing that every time he played the jazz standards, he felt like everything always sounded the same and there was nothing much new, because he was always playing, always respecting, the chord progressions and the cadences, 2-5-1, 4-5-1, and being perfect, addressing the chord tones. For some musicians, when you get up to a level that you have mastered completely the improvisation over those arpeggios, approximating chord tones, there seems to be a point where things do get repetitive. And so this kind of approach right here is something to get you out, especially over major and minor chords, which is the ones that usually are used in a stationary situation where you stop and you breathe. Say, for example, over a tune like Little Sunflower, you do like 8 bars of a minor chord. So tunes like that, this scale is perfect, and it definitely surprises your listener, because usually whenever you play a wrong note like that, like a minor and a major 7 over a minor chord, that would be definitely wrong. People play those notes and they tend to take the finger out or immediately correct it. And in this approach, you have to have some balls to play those notes that are usually seen as wrong and just stay on them with conviction. And you get that kind of you just gotta let it sing, let it do its magic. And when you take that attitude of believing what you're playing and just resting on the note, especially if you have set that context where you are bending a little bit of the rules, it's just going to really give you a whole other dimension to your playing. Boleros, I would like to take a harmony course to understand how to realistically apply all this to Latin tunes, which is my style. Well, like I said, to apply this, you would have to find a stationary chord, a chord that takes a while and gives you time to bend it. This is harmony bending stuff, I would call. It's the kind of stuff that gives you the sensation that your feet are swept off the floor, like you're kind of hovering above the ground. So in order to apply this, you can't just apply it to something that is, that doesn't ask for this. There are certain situations, I said this before in this video, there are certain situations that this is called for, and it can really sound like magic. But if you simply just throw it anywhere, then it's not going to do its effect. Right, so yeah, guys, I think we're approaching the end of our live here, and I'm going to write experiment. You guys are welcome to write me messages during the week. Any questions you might have, this is my email, okay? So great live today. Thank you, iMusic Academy. I also wanted to let you know that I really enjoyed the interview with Freddie last night. Yeah, that was a cool interview. I didn't know a lot of things he said. He just landed on a Berkeley gig, teaching a gig, because he was on the right place at the right time and he was ready. He had done his homework. So that shows you the power of being competent, knowing your homework, knowing your theory, knowing your tunes, being a versatile musician, and being a nice, educated, polite person. It's the power of just being in the right place at the right time and being ready, and wonderful things can happen, and that was one of the lessons that I took from interviewing him last night. Did you just say, you can sound like Machek? Like magic. Thank you, Boleros. Freddie was ready. Yeah, Freddie was ready. Thanks, Philippe. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for being here. Guys, and the email I just wrote you also, if you guys want to, you can, send some thank you dollar bills. All right, if you guys, any of you who would like to send any financial support, that comes very welcomed. Your string sounds fine, but wondering, not brand intention gauge you use. Well, the strings that I'm using, I always use medium gauge, and I got gifted from my friend, great friend Justin King. I got gifted these strings here that I think came from Europe. They are made of carbon and they are medium tension, so they are very good. And it was a nice support that I got from this friend. And yeah, any of you guys who would like to also thank me, you are welcome to sign up to the channel. I'm very thankful for those who like to subscribe. I just sent a new video a couple of days ago talking about a pattern, a physical pattern to play very fast notes, very fast scales, which was the same pattern that I used over the solo Moment's Notice, another recent video that I improvised over this very difficult John Coltrane tune. And the opening of that solo raised some questions from some guys, and so I decided to make a video, and the video seems to be doing very well. It's very it's above the normal amount of views and time of it being watched. So I'm very happy that some of these videos that I'm throwing on there are actually moving, people and interacting people, and people are interacting back. So that is definitely a gift to me, to see that I'm being able to in some way help people out and make friends and give some content that seems to be interesting to some people. So yeah, guys, here is my sincere goodbye. Stay tuned to the channel, please subscribe, and every Friday I'll be here with a live on a series of very interesting subjects, basically a free lesson on subjects that I find interesting to be taught. What's the platform for donations? Yeah, the platform for donations is the PayPal, and is that address right there, Coelho Experiment. I'm going to write it again. Thank you so much, guys, for these donations, because they make a difference for me, since the gigs are so difficult right now. There's very little work opportunity. There's about 2,500 people passing away per day in Brazil because of COVID. So everything is still locked, and this seems like a bad dream that's just never seems to end. So I don't have a donation link. I just go to PayPal, and that's my PayPal right there. Anything you guys might want to send, $5, whatever, anything is welcome, guys. Anything is welcome and appreciated. So guys, I thank you so much for being here, and catch me next Friday on the next live. And that's it, guys. I appreciate you. A big hug to your heart, okay? Thank you for being here. Till next time.